In the early 2000s, LED technology exploded on the market. Chances are you have seen a motorcycle with LEDs lighting up every part of the bike. Well, I sat down with the guy who created an entire industry out of a desperate moment.
My name is Ted Hayes. I'm 59 years old. I live in Nashville, Indiana now. I was born in Detroit. By the time I was 18, I was on the road. I was doing carnivals, festivals, craft shows, you name it, I was doing it.
Well, I first met Ted when we were doing craft shows up in Chicago, my parents and I. And
we went out, met her on a Thursday, went out on a Friday and Saturday night and Sunday night. A week later, asked her to marry me. 5 months later, we got married. And we traveled on the road for a couple years and lived in a camper, and our address was our license plate number. Been married 39 years. She's my best friend. Been through a lot together. Good times, hard times. So 1982, we were coming back from Louisville and passed through a little town called Nashville, Indiana, which is a little tourist town. We said, this looks like as good a place as any to start a family. We bought 12 acres, rented a store, and we didn't know what it was like to be debt-free, but we knew we had fun. We always had motorcycles and had what we wanted, and hot tubs and pools, and the kids always had, everything that they wanted. And 97, my bookkeeper at the time was moving to Florida, said that he had a excellent opportunity down there. Wanted to know if I'd be interested in getting involved in it. Sold almost everything. Moved down to Florida and started all over in 97, in August of 1997. We were there maybe 4 months, and then things just started falling apart.
the person that we were in business with didn't turn out to be who we thought they were, and things just started really going bad really quickly. And
one day, as my friend George had been bugging me about going to a Promise Keepers meeting, I said, no, I can't go. I got too many orders to work on. I got work I got to do. Just making an excuse because I knew it was going to be one of them religious things. And
he didn't want to go, but his friend George went ahead and got him a ticket anyway and told him, no, you're going.
I was there 5 minutes. 5 minutes, and my life changed. God got a hold of my heart, changed everything about me. January of 1999 was really the first time I think I actually heard from God. I was standing at my desk down there at my wood shop, and I felt like God said it's time to go home. Valentine's Day, 1999, I brought my family back to Indiana, homeless. Sorry. Lost everything. Went through about $100,000 worth of debt. Everything we worked all of our lives for was gone.
It felt like at that time it was a big mistake, but now I know it wasn't a mistake. It was all part of God's plan.
We fought. We did anything and everything. I remember we would go out and we dug ditches. I mean, literally dug ditches. And we did landscaping, and we did construction, and we did concrete, and we built decks. I can't even tell you how many decks me and my wife built. Then I got a job with a glazing company, putting in big windows.
So he was working a ton of hours. It was, he was just doing what needed to be done at the time. And a buddy of his said, hey, we need to go down to Daytona Beach, Florida. And being that he knew that there's a lot of work to be done, it was a hard sell, but he finally talked him into it. They have a big bike rally down there. And while they were driving, they naturally had to stop at the I-75 Chrome Shop. It's one of his favorite places. They've always got something cool, something neat and new. And while he was there, he saw a brand new light, an LED light. He'd never seen it before. And so naturally had to snatch a few of those up and save them for later.
LEDs had just come out. There was nobody had LEDs. The truck light thing was the first thing I'd ever seen.
So when he saw these lights that were for trucks, he didn't know what he was going to do with them, but he knew that he'd come up with something. Kind of tossed them to the side and forgot about them. But then months later in a Wendy's, everything changed.
I remember just, again, hearing from God. He said, I want you to quit your job. And I'm like, okay, God, I've got $684 in the bank, and you want me to quit my job. He said, yeah, I want you to quit your job and I want you to start this motorcycle shop that you've been dreaming about. And I was thinking, okay, God, do you remember where we're at financially? He said, do you trust me on this? You know, do you believe the covenant? Do you believe that I give you the faith to be able to be what it is I called you to be? And again, I'm like, well, okay, you got to pass this by my wife.
Yeah, Ted called me and said that he heard from God that he's supposed to quit his job and start this motorcycle business. I'm like, all right.
Monday morning, I went out and bought a lift, bought some tools that I needed to start working on bikes.
He went out in the barn and he was out there messing around. He said, okay, come out and see what I did. And I go out there and he had the lights off all in the barn, and then all of a sudden he turned the bike on. It's like, whoa, the light just glistened, the beautiful color off of the bike and the chrome and everything. It's like, this is really cool, Ted.
So I started sitting down and doing the numbers on figuring out what it was going to take to do this, and Bikeworks was born. And we had no idea what the market would bear because nobody had ever done this before.
So we were ready to go to our first show up in Chicago. We filled up the tank and we had $40 left.
There was a state trooper there. It was actually a friend of his, a buddy, and he said, hey, Ted, I've been waiting for you. I said, you've been waiting for me? What are you talking about? And he said, God told me I needed to give somebody $40, and it's you.
Got there, got all set up, and they're like, okay, you park in this other lot over here by the lake. So I go over there, and that'll be $40 parking.
So there's a display box sitting there with all the components in it. My dad's explaining it to me, and I just remember thinking to myself, I don't even know what a positive and a negative is. I was totally clueless to what any of this was.
And she just stepped up, and then she got excited about it, and then my wife got excited, and then by the end of the second day, we were completely out. I mean, by the end of the first day, we were out of a lot of colors. And I mean, we just couldn't take them. We just couldn't take enough. We just kept selling out every show we'd go to. And God just kept opening doors and opening doors.
So we started looking into some of the bigger bike shows.
Daytona, Sturgis, Myrtle Beach, all of the big rallies. Took a couple lifts, took my Uncle Mike with us, and thought, you know, we'll be fine.
Then that first day hit, and it was just on like Donkey Kong. I mean, we had 10, 12, 14 bikes out front waiting to get lights, and we had the next 2 days completely booked up, everything we could possibly do. I mean, my guys, they got no clue what they're doing other than I'm explaining it to them as they're doing them.
This experience was unlike anything I'd experienced before. It was crazy and exhausting, but it was a lot of fun.
You know, I was really afraid to go back out there into my old element and maybe get back into drinking and maybe get sidetracked from everything that I had gained. But evidently God knew that I was strong enough, because now I could go back and I could take what I've learned and I could share it with my brothers out there on the road. I prayed for people whose daughters were prostitutes. They'd lost their kids. You know, sons were heroin addicts. They were going through a bad divorce. They lost a child. There was just hundreds and hundreds of stories. We started slowly building our relationship with God, starting understanding who He was and how important He was in our lives, started applying His principles to our lives, and then God brought me Bikeworks. Bikeworks was out of nowhere. I mean, completely left field, but that was where everything really started to turn around. Like all the work that we had done from the time we came back from Florida to that point. I mean, it just overnight. We went from starting Bikeworks, I quit my job. Within a year and a half, we turned it into making over $1 million, taking in over $1 million a year. Just me and my wife and my daughter, and the help of a few friends. I could go into just 100 different things that God has shown me that's helped me to shape me into being the person that I am. And a lot of that is He was preparing me to be a grandfather, preparing me to be a better father, preparing me for whatever's next. I don't know what that is, you know. I'm a little excited, a little apprehensive, but I know He's not done.
The motorcycle LED industry has continued to boom over the last decade. It's crazy to think that it all started from a guy who really liked lights with a little bit of faith.